I've got some guests with me. I've got David and Brian, the owners of Barrels of Fun Pinball. Thank you so much. This is going to be more of a regular segment I'm going to do. I haven't titled it yet. I'm thinking of Bits and Banter, but that'll be a working title. And then, of course, our correspondent, Arcade Allen, who really set this all up and put it together.
Yeah.
But thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well,
We're
we
glad to be here.
appreciate it. We look forward to jumping in deep regarding pinball.
We're arcade guys, David and Brian. So, we're children of the 70s and 80s, going to arcades and playing pinball. So, what's been the arcade game that really raptured you in terms of like, wow, I love video games, going into the arcade? I'd love to hear it from you, David, and then Brian.
So typically I get asked, what was the pinball machine that started it all? And that typically is the answer of a Data East Star Wars that I ended up purchasing and put it on route. But what I think was interesting, because you did send us some information, is like you wanted to know what was the game that made me find pinball and pursue it. And that was two pinball machines at my local pizza tuck shop. And it was a Terminator 2 and a Judge Dredd. They were the two pinball machines that I grew up in the 90s playing Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Simpsons. I was always into those games. And that was what I was attracted to because they were the cartoons I was watching. But then as I walk into the tuck shop, there's these giant machines. One of them's Terminator and Judge Dredd. And like, oh, this is a very different product. And it's very physical. Video games is all about just, repetition. The pinball machine, the name attracted me first, and then having an opportunity to play the ball, but it wasn't just doing something repetitive. It was literally different every time that ball came out. So that was the first time I truly met pinball and experienced it for the first time.
What do you think it is about pinball that it just feels different from video games? And is it the energy or something you get out of it? But you enjoy a video game, but it kind of doesn't last long and you kind of move on. But pinball is just more, it's a different feel. What do you think?
I should probably get a t-shirt made up, but it's that one ball. Like, you can suck on two balls, but you just need that one ball that makes you feel like a champion. So you got to understand, I wasn't a very athletic kid when I was younger, so sports were kind of out of my realm. When I discovered pinball and I was able to make that ball do something special, it made me feel like I could do something that no one else could, because you saw other kids play it and they couldn't do that.
Yeah, I think the main thing you got to think about in the difference is pinball is tactile. Okay, so I'm getting feedback from the machine as I'm playing. I'm bumping that ball, I'm moving the ball, I'm yanking the machine around. I don't want to tilt, but it's tactile, whereas many other things are just, I might get visual feedback, but I'm not getting, feedback through my hands. It's the same thing like kind of in toys. Is the reason like Lego is so successful because it's tactile. Kids put it together and go to mom and say, hey mom, look what I made. It's mine. So it's the feedback is what you're looking for in the game from that.
Yeah. I think it needs to be, right, a shift towards back to more tactile, more real, right? Because all this digital world, we're just looking at images all the time, and there's a yearning to touch and feel something real.
You mentioned, David, licensing and securing those licenses. Your company, Barrels of Fun, secured two more of the arduous ones. You secured Dune, which is by no stretch easy, and Labyrinth. And Alan brought it up earlier about how we're all kids from the 80s, Gen Xers. That movie obviously meant a great deal to me. And that's another hard license to get, because you've got characters from Jim Henson that are in there. You've got music from David Bowie. Talk about either of you. This question is for, was that difficult to get the license for those two tables, and how that ties into Barrels of Fun?
So licensing is its own unique beast because it constantly evolves and changes. What could be available when you sign the agreement to what you have at the end can be completely different. But at the end of the day, Brian and me are both collectors, and we have passion and we collect a lot of useless stuff. And when we're looking to do a pinball machine, we're looking to create a world that the fans can actively participate in. We don't want to do a license that's just, here's the style guide, that's all you can go. We need to have access as much as possible. Licensors need to understand we are an active participant creating excitement around their IP. And we want to, this is a crowning achievement in their lineup of their fandom. Like, this is a very unique piece of IP and toy. And if we can't service the IP to what the fans want, how can that be fun for the fans? I mean, again, I probably shouldn't be making pinball machines because I approach as a collector, just like Brian is. And if we can make the ultimate fandom product, it will speak for itself. But again, with licensing, there's multiple facets to it. So it's not just one license. You've got to deal with actors, you got to deal with music, you got to deal with third parties. It's multiple IPs that you deal with. Like nearly every IP that we've dealt with, even to the ones in the future, have literally 4 or 5 third-party licensing products that we have to get to make sure we make the best product at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the most amazing part of the story of us doing these 2 licenses is that we got both of these licenses before we'd even built a pinball machine. So this was all done with smoke and mirrors and David's accent, and everybody just goes, "Oh, listen to him talk." And his pitch deck, and he just did a great job of convincing these two companies that for your product we're the right choice.
Well, at the end of the day, how I approach this, I'm not making a pinball machine. I'm telling a story. And because I worked in film and TV for 25 years, is for me to make a film or a documentary, I have to do storyboards. I have to flesh this out completely. So I'm not just saying I can sell X amount of games and I'm going to pay you a royalty. I am going to build you what we think is a realistic goal for what we can sell for the size of the company that we are. But we are going to tell this story in this way. And I think, like Jim Henson, they're natural storytellers. So when they saw what we did, first of all, to be blunt, at the end of when we delivered the game to them, they literally turned around, because you got to remember this happened during COVID. And they were like, honestly, David, we didn't think you were going to be able to make it, because you were selling this story. And I think they're very used to filmmakers and that, like, we always aim this high and most people fall short, right? There's limitations to what everyone can do. But we excelled to their expectations. And they really believed in what we're doing, and they saw it, and we made it happen. And then what happened on Dune side of it is we did the same thing. This is Labyrinth. It hasn't come out yet. This is what we're doing for it. And this is what we're going to do for Dune. In fact, we weren't even talking about Dune in the first place. It was another IP. But when they saw the prototype of Labyrinth and what we were doing, they were like, have you thought about Dune? And I've been in the licensing world for so long now. It's one of those situations of, I look at all the actors, everything in it, and it's really, when you have a huge cast, it gets really complicated really quickly. But what was the great thing about Legendary was they are fandom first. This is not about they got to make money, but it's like, if we license something, how can we activate the fans of Dune? And when they saw the passion and the direction we were going with Labyrinth and where we wanted to take Dune, they were like, you guys got to do this. Like, how do we make this work? And it's like, I tell them all my concerns. They were like, we will take care of it. They 100% did that. And you saw what we created. I mean, it was funny. I didn't even come up with the word pinball, a cinematic pinball experience, but it really is. When I first played that game with everything in it, I gotta say, I got goosebumps playing it. And that's when I knew I had something.
Wow. So I thought you had the idea, like, okay, I want to do a Dune pinball. And then I was like, okay, do I do the question is the 80s, was it the David Lynch, Kyle MacLachlan, or the new, and kind of like going from that. But you were actually in ways approached to do it, and then you kind of thought about it. And
I wouldn't say we were approached. Again, we tried to do something it has to be targeted for the pinball audience, right? So we look at the demographic and how that's going to cross over. And then we look at what is going to connect. Because one of the things is, if we only sell to pinball collectors, this hobby dies in 10, 15 years, okay?
Absolutely, yeah.
So we're going for the pinball demo that's right here, but how do we actually make it slightly bigger to attract more people into the hobby? And that's what Labyrinth did fantastically. Labyrinth was not the pinball demographic at all. It was a female 35 to 45 demo, which is no pinball machine company would touch that because it is not the demo at all. However, back in my head is, who do you think the pinball male demographic is married to? 35 to 45 females. And then what happens is most wives do not enjoy the pinball collecting. Like they tolerate it, they enjoy it, but they're not actively participating in it. But when they go to a show and they see an IP that they recognize from their childhood, they will tell to the husband, like, oh, what's this? And the first thing he's like, you like pinball machines? Yeah, I think this is fun. And the next thing is like, and he says, yo, you should get this one. And he's like, I can get another game? And then he buys a game and now they're hooked.
Yeah.
Are there any themes or general themes that you try to, like, this is a Barrels of Fun theme? Is it like fantasy or some general sci-fi or some general element that you want to stay in that vein, or avoid horror, or avoid, like, spooky's more horror, you would argue, for now?
Brian, you answer that.
Yeah.
Well, if you saw our
You're the
list
lane.
of next 5 or 6 licenses, I forget what we're up to now. We're all over the map. So we're gonna really surprise some people in the next couple years with what we come out with, because some of it they'll be going like, that's over here, and then something else is, wow, that's at the other end of the spectrum over here. So and you have fandoms that like a whole bunch of different things. So I don't think you want to be pigeonholed into one particular genre, because at some point you run out of stuff. You've done all the main chapters, and now we're into the subheadings, and well, I don't know, Friday the 13th, 26, I don't know, can you make 26 games of that? Or whatever number they're up to today, you get the idea. But it's just things that look like it's going to make a great machine and is in the demo. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, and honestly, when Brian and me started the company, started talking about doing the company, it really was, we missed, like, what did we miss? Like, does there really need to be a pinball company in the first place? And when we looked at the whole industry as a whole, it had greatly changed to when we were in it. Like, well, we're still in it, but when we were, just having fun with it. And the things that we missed is, like, as a collector, there should be only one version of a IP. Because, like, if I'm buying a product, I don't want to buy the lesser version. I want to buy the version that represents my culture, my memory, my pop culture, right? Second of all, everyone knows what everyone is doing. And that spoils things. Like, there was nothing. I loved back in the early, 2007 and 8, we had no idea what was coming out. And when a new pinball machine was announced, we were on the forums, we were talking, calling up each other, just talking about, did you see Tron just come out? And we would talk about it. In 2 weeks, it would be down at Joysticks down here. We'll go and have a tournament. We'll go and play the pros and cons. It was literally like we were getting Christmas every, 3 times a year. And I missed, because everything is so shared now and people want to be in the know. It was like, well, what if we were a company that made one collectible product, kept it a secret, so when we did announce, it was Christmas time. But I also, again, like Brian said, it's like, we don't want to be pigeonholed. Like, if there's a great IP that we think will work and will grow this market, we want to give it a go. If the licensor wants to work with us and wants us to create one of the greatest products that we can make, then who am I to say no? I've taken some of the weirdest, Brian and me at the licensing show, we'll take some of the weirdest meetings, because A, you never know what they have, and B, you never know where that relationship's going to connect. And everything in my life regarding film and TV and collecting is relationships. And you never know where that's going to take you. So I never take that for granted. I always look for an opportunity. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't knock on doors and had meetings I didn't want to do and talk and chat to people. So sorry, I make a short story really long.
No. It's very, very important to properly advertise and do apropos marketing, which it's going to bring me to my next question. I'm fresh off of Retro World in Connecticut and Cleveland Gaming Expo out of out of Ohio. My question, and I'll pose this to Brian, when you look at advertising and really growing the name, the brand of Barrels of Fun, is there any type of conventions or expos upcoming for 2026 or beyond that you see stylistically as a good match for your company?
Absolutely. Of course, there's two very large pinball conventions or shows or whatever you want to call it. The one's coming up here in the middle of October in Chicago, which is Pinball Expo. It's been around for 41 years. So the advantage that show has is, other than about three of us manufacturers, everybody else is in Chicago. So it's really easy for them to go there, and they've done that show a long time. And it's more of an industry show. The other show that's really big is Texas Pinball Festival, which is in Frisco, North Dallas. Okay, if you're not familiar with that, and that's in March. And that is more of a player's game or player's show, because it's going to have over 300 games there on free play. And there'll be a few manufacturers, but not a lot. But of course, everybody that's in Texas is going to be there. So those are the two primary ones. Then there's other ones across the country. There's Southern Fried Gaming in Atlanta. There's Allentown. There's Pinfest and Pin. There's so many different ones. I don't know. There's Golden West. There's all different ones that it's hard to keep up with the different ones. And we try, if we can't go, then we'll send a distributor, with our games. And sometimes the distributor will set up and one of us will just fly in and talk to people and then let them handle all the show part. But it's important for people in pinball particularly to go out and play the game, because unless you know that this is your dream IP, it's like, man, this is my dream IP, glue sticks. Wow, they made a glue stick machine. I'm going to buy it no matter what. Other than that, I don't like glue sticks, so I'm going to have to go play glue stick before I decide I'm going to buy it. So it's really important that you're out there for people to try the game and see what they like. And that's the thing about Dune is Dune, in the beginning may have been a little more hesitant than some of the other, games that were coming out at the same time. But once people play the machine and understand how immersive that this machine is, more so than pretty much any other game there's ever been, it puts you in the environment. I mean, the environment changes from night to day as you play the game. You have the worm, you ride the worm, you get eaten by the worm, you get killed by the worm, you have to kill, the different, factions that are in the game. And so, if you're shooting orthocopters, and the lighting is just amazing, the new system that we put in. So it's all about getting you in the game, hearing the sound of that game, and getting to where that machine continues to call back to you. Okay, so that's your main advertising thing, is getting people to play the game and go like, well, I got to go play that again because it does all these great things.
Yeah, and like heading into like Chicago, this will be the first time that pinball enthusiasts will really get to spend time on Dune. And we got some pretty exciting things with Dune coming up, and this will be the first time they'll get to experience pretty much 95% of the code is completely done already. Like, again, this movie is all encapsulating 2 films with majority of all the actors, with music from the soundtrack, with additional music that's created by us. So like, this will be, realistically, we've been to other little shows, but this will be the first big show that Dune will be out, and we are going to have a good large presence there with Dune, to the point, I think I can announce this, Brian, is we actually going to have a separate room at that show so people can go in there and listen to it and have it cranked up, so they can actually get an experience with the lights down low and really feel what it's like, to take on the Harkonnen.
Yeah. And really hear the game, because in some of the big shows, as you know, it's just a cacophony. You can't hear what the game's doing. And to me in pinball, the call outs, the sound, the music is so much of the game that I want to hear that.
Yeah. I actually saw a little bit of echo here. I saw Dune for the first time at a Pinfest in Allentown. And I can honestly say, walking up to it, it's like seeing a museum piece. It was absolutely beautiful. And relative to, you see all these other machines, but the craftsmanship, the powder coating, amazing. I think you guys.
Thanks.
It was like, I know I'm a big Disney fan. It's like Disney Imagineers created a pinball machine. So it just, I don't
That's
know,
very kind of you.
that's a sense I got from you guys, both between the Labyrinth and.
Well, in that particular game, yeah, we talked about toys and stuff before we came on, and tools and those kind of thing. There are 18 different tools or molds in that game. That's a lot. Okay. There's hardly any flat plastics in the whole game because we want you to be in the Dune world. If you touch the machine, you'll notice that the powder coat on this machine has a little bit of gritty feel to it because you're in the world of sand. So you want to have that tactile feel of the machine.
So what you got to understand, Brian and me are frustrated Imagineers. We really are, because it was funny because how I got to do what I was doing was my first experience of going to Disneyland when I was 12 years old. I always loved movies as a kid, but that was the first time I walked into a place and I forgot everything around me. I was in the story, okay? And then so I've always been I wanted to tell stories, make people feel emotional. I like that nostalgia thing has always been with me. And it was funny, Brian and me never talked about this until later in our relationship, but he was telling me, why don't you tell your story?
Well, a couple things. When I was in college, we had speakers that would come in, and we had a guy come in that was from an amusement park consulting firm. And I sat there through that and I go, I want to do that. Unfortunately, it took too much time to learn to do it and experience and all that. So anyhow, where I ended up was, as a G.I. Joe collector, I was able to go to Hasbro and start the G.I. Joe Collectors Club. I spent 25 years running that. I ran for 12 years the Transformers Collectors Club. I made over 450 limited edition Joes, over 150 Transformers, and we published over 450 copies of magazines before I said, okay, peace out, I'm done. I'm going to retire. So I retired. And then David starts talking about pinball, and we start talking about, well, maybe we should just do this ourselves. And then we decided to start a pinball company, so now I'm unretired. But this is all about, collectors being immersed in things, being involved with people, because the thing about, like David was alluding to earlier, the pinball machine is not the important part of the whole thing. The pinball machine is an excuse for all of us to get together to share time and have a shared experience. That's what it's really all about. It's all about the people in the hobby. It's not just about the machines.
And if you guys come down and have a tour of our facility, we, on one side of our office, we have engineering drawings from Disney World and Disneyland of attractions that have been made, that haven't got made, and also like Astro World, which was a Houston amusement park that doesn't exist anymore, which was literally designed based on Disney World. But it's it serves as a reminder of just dream. Have the opportunity. We will never have the opportunity to build a world like that, but that doesn't mean we can't find a way to exercise that. And realistically, that's what Brian and me are doing. This is we want to share this experience I love. And, as I said, we all should be probably designing our games more budget friendly. Dare I say that, Brian? But
yeah, that's for sure.
We want to be different. We want to make the ultimate collectible for the ultimate fan. And if I can have a shared experience, and example, Labyrinth. There is a lot of things in Labyrinth that doesn't need to be in there. Example, I was always fascinated as a kid of Elo the worm. His real name is William, I found out, which also was the code name for the worm in Dune, because if we're talking around the office, we didn't want people to know what it was. They always thought we were talking about Labyrinth when we were actually talking about Dune. But there was a moment where he turns to Jennifer and goes, "Come inside, have a cup of tea with the missus." And she doesn't do it. And there is literally a mode, if you hit William enough, there is a tea multi-ball party. You get to basically add sugar and milk to your tea, because why not? We can do that, And it's just when I get people that bought Labyrinth, they didn't buy it for the pinball machine, but they bought it for the IP, and then they experience that for the first time, it literally brings tears to my eyes, because I'm connecting to them on a whole level of my 12-year-old self was like, you got that too? And that's why I do this, because I want to experience those emotions that we had when we were younger.
I definitely, looking at both Labyrinth and Dune, you have to see them. I would say see the movies first, and then absorb it and then play the pinball, because there's so much rich detail and nuance, as David's mentioning. You won't get if you as much, right? Nearly as much if you don't see the movie first. I had watched Labyrinth like in the 80s, but just rewatched it this week for you guys, and yeah, what a great, amazing movie. Yeah, and I wondered, I was like, oh, why does everyone like it so much? I get it now. But with Dune, just when I saw it for the first time, looking, at the playfield, normally I have a Godzilla Premium with a ton of mods on it, but it's not something built to be further modded. It's everything. It looked complete, or if there's anything else, it's like coming from the source. It's you're building a collector's piece that is. You don't need to add more to it, or try to 3D print something and throw it on top of a sling or something like that. It's all there.
Well, Brian and me had a conversation, and actually I took it to the group. So one of the things that Brian and me bonded over pinball machines was we love adding things to our games. We like the modding community. Like, we were like trying to turn things into something different. Like, the pinball machine would come in, it's like we'd fix it up and then we want to add more to it. And I actually had a genuine thought as we're doing Dune, and I was wondering, are we taking some of the fun? Like, should we, not Dune or the next game, but should we actually tamper it down a little bit? Because when you look at Labyrinth and the fandom, they are doing pretty much zero mods on it because they don't need to. And I was just wondering, are we killing one of the things that we actually love to do? But like Brian and me, we'll be going through it, it's like, well, it really needs that. Yeah, let's just do it. It's just like, it needs to be done correctly. But we really did have the conversation, didn't we, Brian, of like, are we putting too much into our games, not letting the community? Because some of the greatest threads on Pinside and other forums is everyone sharing their unique mod that they did, and then they will share the 3D printed file, or they sell it to their friends. That's another great thing about the community, is the homebrew side of it, is like, that is amazing. And I always thought that was kind of one of the things I kind of stumbled on about 9 months ago. Is like, are we putting too much in and not letting the mod people do something more? But I just saw this week they got these little model omnicopters now, and they are the perfect size for the pinball machine, and they're putting it over where the rocks are, right between the harvester and that, and it's just like, holy crap, I'm gonna go and get that at the end of this week, because it's an amazing little mod, and it's literally just on a wire and they just attach it, and it's fantastic. And I'm like, first of all, well, crap, why didn't we do that? But B, it is amazing to see the fans out there and the owners take it and make it their own.
And you have a series of like a shooter rod coming out with further attachments that you can get as add-ons. Is that right?
Well, it's an add-on Chris knife, which is the knife that they use, to battle, made from a tooth. And then there's also some slings and drains that are the cityscape, so you can change them out right there in front of you. So you actually have, the city looking with the lights shining through, the holes in the city, like it's all armored up for battle. So that's about all we could come up with, that we could do. Now, I say that, and I'm still working on an animated topper for this, and it's a monster.
And Brian, you have a high bar, because that Labyrinth topper was freaking amazing.
Well,
how are you gonna
I can't
top
tell
that?
you exactly what this one's going to do, but it does do stuff, and so we're still trying to get it finalized and made so that people can order it and add it to the machine. Meanwhile, on this machine, we gave them just the plain old flat plastic topper that's kind of just a bookmark, until you could get the real thing.
When do you plan to, what are you shooting for releasing the...
That's a really good question. I wish I knew the answer to that.
I'll say with this year, the economic situation just worldwide has been pretty rough around the world, and we have not been spared from that. And it's made it really, really hard. We have amazing vendors, but everyone is having a really hard time, and we're doing the best we can. And as like Brian has said previously in other interviews, we won't release until it's ready to go. Like, there's nothing worse than we would tease something and it doesn't ship for 18 months or 16 months. So when it's ready to go, when we have the opportunity to do it, we will do it, and we will do it rightly. That was another reason why we started Barrels, is there were a lot of companies that don't exist now that promised something that they couldn't deliver. And trust me, it is hard. And like we finance this all ourselves. Like we pay for the games up front. We invest in what we're doing because we believe in what we're doing. But a lot of previous companies get pre-orders, and they totally underestimated what it took to manufacture a pinball machine. And honestly, Brian and me, we've had a lot of experience in multiple facets of businesses. And even today, we're like, every day is like, did you see that one coming? And it's just like, oh.
Yeah, somebody else is trying to torpedo us. But, the message David's trying to say is, for a lot of these companies, you have to be, if they're not shipping a game within 4 weeks of announcement, then there's a problem, because they're just using your money to buy parts, okay? They need to be ready, 3 or 4 weeks, something like that, because you can always get stymied by the licensor. They'll approve something, they'll pull it back, they'll give it back, and so then you're kind of going, like a yo-yo. But they should be ready in that time frame to ship product and not be sitting on your money for 9, 10, 12, 14, 24
Agreed.
months.
No, there's some other, I don't want to get into the weeds, but no, I'm reading you loud and clear. You talk about hardware. Can you go into the dimensions of Dune and Labyrinth? Are they the same size? When you talk about craftsmanship? Yeah.
Yeah, the
So
only
the
difference
exact-
cabinet-wise
Yeah.
is that Dune has the halo lighting system in it, which we've actually scored the cabinet down the side. And instead of the light shining up in your face or straight down and you see the nasty piece, under the glass, these are at an angle. So they're hidden, in the wall of the cabinet. And that's really the only, design difference in the cabinets.
It's the same fit and form as every pinball machine, just a little slightly heavier because of the stuff we put in it.
What's your opinion on virtual pinball as a real pinball manufacturer?
Dude, I play virtual pins all the time because I like to see what they do. And then my mind instantly goes to, how can I do that in real life? Like, again, Imagineer, I'm a, wannabe magician. It's like, how can I pull that trick? One of the questions you had, if I was in an arcade today and I saw a game, what would I go and play? And it really comes down to like pinball magic, theater of magic. I always love magic tricks. And when I was younger and my teenage were playing that, I would bring my friends over and watch this ball literally travel down the wand on pinball magic. Like, how does it do that? When you find out how it's done, you're like, oh, well, crap, that's really easy. But when you experience it in play with the music and the sight and the sound, it's a whole nother level. So it really, so when I look at virtual pins, I always look at how they do it. Then I'm like, well, how can we incorporate that into the real world? Because there's got to be a way to do it. So it's not the same. I feel like it's a gateway drug if you get into a virtual pin, because honestly, if you get some of the fancy virtual pins, you're literally buying a real pinball machine. So if they get a virtual pin for like $4,500, $5,000, I guarantee you, if they like that thing, within 12 months, they're going to have at least 1 or 2 real pinball machines.
You just
They
described
breed
me
like-
right there, David. So I got a virtual pin, and I spent a little bit too much. You want to know how much I spent? It's embarrassing, but I'll tell you guys. $13,400. But it has like the the real the bumpers and everything else, and it has the dial.
Yeah.
It has tactile feedback. in it.
Yeah, but it's still not a real pin, and so it led me to the real pin. I got my first one, which is a Godzilla. I want a Barrels of Fun. I want a Spooky. I want to have a nice mix of different pins, but it is totally a gateway drug.
No, and that's no different than even with what Stern is doing with the Costco pins. These are great. Everyone in this industry is an ambassador for pinball. We do it because we love it. Because realistically, with what Brian and me have put into this company, we could have made a lot more money elsewhere. But at the end of the day, we're doing this because we love pinball and we want to share that with people. And we do see an opportunity to make money. Don't get me wrong, I need to put my kids through college. Brian needs to finally retire the second time. We need to make that happen, but we're doing it because we love it.
And we're doing it basically because we're insane. That's really the main reason why we're doing it. We're just insane.
They would have figured that out 40 minutes
Yeah, I
into the
understand.
interview.
Well, no, you
how
could tell.
crazy we-
You could tell your pinheads. Just being there, getting the pulse of the people. You mentioned message boards and forums that you go on. That's incredible pulse survey that you can get. Being at expos and conventions, that's invaluable because you can't, I feel like when you're in this industry, you can't fake it till you make it. You really have to have a genuine and sincere enthusiasm, and you both certainly do. I love both of your stories.
Well, and I gotta emphasize, I do like the other companies. We've been through a lot in this pinball industry, and I really don't. There's no one that starts to make a pinball machine does it because they're looking to rip people off. They're doing it because they love it. The problem is their love for something is blinding, and you don't realize what you're getting yourself into. We're talking each pinball machine has over 1,800 parts, which I have to source from 60 plus different vendors that all have to get into my warehouse to feed our 30 employees on the line. Everything has to run smoothly for that to happen.
And it takes a year and a half just to design the machine and get it ready with the basic code to set it on its way. So it's not
making one game is really easy. You try to do that on the manufacturing side.
It's not like McDonald's. You don't drive up to one window and put in your order for your Big Mac pinball machine and drive to the next one and pick it up and take it home.
Yeah. Well, that's what you see in a lot of different companies, car manufacturing, easy to make a prototype, but the dread of scaling up and going into production is daunting. But do you see, then hopefully, right, pinball increases in popularity, and 5-10 years ago, it's still strong. Do you see, for example, like Stern, maybe they're manufacturing, high scale, maybe on the lower end, the entry end arcades, and then the more boutique manufacturers, collectible limited qualities like you guys and Spooky and Jersey Jack, kind of all existing together, but just kind of covering this nice full spectrum of, and putting out really cool, products, right? That sparks joy. Yeah.
We need each other. We really need each other. Like again, an IP is where it starts. That's what makes a difference. It doesn't matter if there's enough themes and licenses out there for all of us to survive, because it's a combination of the play and the theme together. Like we all feed off of each other. So it's one of those things of every company has a segment that they can cater to, and hopefully they cross over. That's literally what it comes down to. Like, you may not be a fan of, I'm trying to think of a license, Reading Rainbow. Like, we don't eat each other's competition because we're making a pinball for the fans of that IP or that license or that game. I think where the competition comes in is when the code is complete and then people are weighing up, I'm looking for something different for my wife or my kids or my friends, or I really played this. Then it's a matter of, I've got 10 games, I don't have any more room. Who do I trade? What game do I trade with it? So,
and we want every machine to be successful, because if every machine is successful for every manufacturer, that just brings more people into the fold.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think
if we start hurting each other, it just doesn't end well. This industry is so small. We need to be working together because we make different products.
And what's cool about the hobby, you could spend a minimal amount, go to an arcade, experience your product, enjoy it. Maybe one day get one for the home, or have a large collection. So it's not like owning a Ferrari. You can experience, with a couple, $10, or you could spend more than that and have a, arcade pinball set at home. So I think it's a really cool hobby that, to be in, that allows a full spectrum of people to have fun and enjoy.
Alan, you nailed that on the head, because what is great about this community is if you go to a bar, you're going to mix with liberals, Republican, kids, adults. Like, your entry level into this hobby is 50 cents or 20 or a quarter. And if you want to buy it, then that's a whole different level. Like, the spectrum of the opportunity to mix with other people that think different with you is phenomenal. And I think that's something we actually lack today. I guess I'm getting political now, is to hang out with people that think a little bit different than you and listen to them and have a good time with them.
Yeah.
That pinball machine is the icebreaker.
Yeah. It was beautiful at Pinfest. I saw people that looked like they just got out of the cornfield with the overalls, to the full spectrum of people that look like they, got out of Greenwich Village, like very, that very progressive look, and they're all having fun playing pinball, and that's what we should.
Farmers market across the parking lot there. So
You're right. Yeah, they dropped off their corn and then went to the convention. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There is rather a negative connotation, I think, that like, oh, you have to be old to be a pinhead. But you guys are right. I see a diverse crowd. At least I do. I see young, I see old. You brought up women, men, culturally, minority, everything. So I don't see it as a one-dimensional type group. At least from my point of view, I see it as very versatile and diverse. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it has to be. I mean, we don't survive if we don't diversify. And that's the reason why we go after some of the licenses, because we want to grow this, I mean, it's not just, of course, we want to do it for the success of the business, but like, again, if we just cater to ourselves, it just becomes an insular circle and it just slowly dies, And honestly, from where we are, as I started going to conventions back in 2010 is when I went for my first convention, something like that. And like, it was a lot of males in cargo shorts, to now it is so many kids and wives and teenagers like at these shows. Honestly, I'd say 60% of the people going to these shows now do not look anything like they were back even 10 years ago, which is amazing. And that's what we need to keep
There
driving.
is something about it. I don't know what. I've got a home arcade, of my own with arcade one-ups and cabinets. But truth be told, and Alan knows this, I prefer just the tables. I have two. I have a V-pin and I have a traditional pinball table. And just for me, it's like there's something about the cabinets that gets boring sometimes. I don't say this negatively about them, but pinball never gets boring for me.
Every game is different. That's why you have that cheat code when you hold down the start button and restart the game. Because if I can't, I'm guilty. If I don't get a certain score or start certain modes on ball one, I will hold that start button and start again, because it's like, I need to get that first ball to make me believe I can go somewhere. Because what's worse is I'll have two bad balls, and on my third one, it will be an amazing ball. And in my head, I'm like, that could have been my ball one.
Yeah. So you guys, one of the innovations with, in Labyrinth and then Dune was that back screen, which, I think it's an amazing addition, because I don't know, when I'm playing pinball, I don't look it up as much, but that background and what you guys are integrating in with physical objects is super cool. So I wanted to ask you guys, when David comes back, I want to get your rapid fire, cool technologies and innovations in pinball. Some may be crazy, some may be interesting, but maybe I could throw out some ideas and get your gut impressions. Would that be okay?
Sure.
All right.
Well, actually, so the first thing you're talking about, that LCD.
Yeah.
On Labyrinth, there's a story behind this.
Yeah.
We were trying, because we're putting toys in the game, whatever not, and I really wanted to have, since it's show and tell, and because we have unlimited time, I wanted to have the things going in the back. So it was the goblins going back and forth, and when the ball would go down, it would get hit and fall over, right? So this was sculpted for that. And then again, it's Brian's dude, that's another tool cost, and we're we need to get this game done. And we're looking at this, and it's just this is going to take a servo, it's going to take, all the stuff to do it. And I just went to an auction, and I had a bunch. This is actually from the auction. We haven't used them. We had these displays floating around because they were cheap at the time. And Brian just picks it up and he goes, puts it on there. It's what about that? And of course, in my head, I'm a post-production person, film and TV. It's oh man, instead of having just one action, now I can put text on there, I can put animations on there. So a display that costs us, $150 now, if we had to put all these tools together, these would have been probably, say, $40 a piece, or would have had two. Then the motor behind it would have ended up probably $250, and it would be just that. By putting This in it, now we have the opportunity to expand the universe that we're building into the back of the cabinet. So now we have a creative opportunity to create an illusion, expand that world way beyond just a simple toy. And now we have another way to connect to the player through this IP so they can have a nostalgic experience. Sorry, again.
No,
Well, and again,
I
in
love it.
like Dune, the way that's really used well in Dune is you have the orthocopters, if y'all hadn't seen them, that pop up in each corner of the screen. And when you make that shot, it blows up on the screen. So now you're interacting with the screen too, besides just getting information or watching the scenery change or whatever. But it's just a lot better bang for the buck for these machines. Now, that won't mean that every machine we do will have the same identical monitor. So there's other things we're looking at for future games that will be just as innovative, but a variation on a theme. Let me just put it that way.
Oh, I love that. So you look at these CES shows and you see the Japanese or American version, for example, like foldable LED screens and things like that. I mean, one, would you ever consider side blade as screens?
No comment.
Okay.
Really, really difficult to execute. They don't make screens that work well that way in aspect ratios.
Okay. What about screen within, like on the bottom of the playfield, a la, a little bit of that, similar to multimorphic, but kind of in a.
It's been
physical
done, but it's
Yeah.
not terribly exciting unless you're doing the replacement for the creature from the Black Lagoon, type of thing. Then it's a little more exciting. But other than that, it's not much you can do with that.
Like Alan, at what it really comes down to is how do we take something, an IP, and tell that story in a unique way, in a mechanical way. So we won't do technologies for the sake of just doing the technology. The technology has to serve as a storytelling purpose. How is the player going to experience something? When we design a pinball machine, we don't have the pinball machine and then put something on it. We literally sit down and I challenge my design team. I don't want you to do research. I'm going to give you an IP. We're going to do Tales from the Crypt. Write down 10 things about Tales from the Crypt right now. Do not think about too much. I need to what's on the tip of your mind on it. And what I usually find, and this is coming back to my storytelling, is there will be 4 to 5 of those things that will be the same between everyone. And those become the core elements that if those 5 people came up with the same thing, that means it's going to resonate with the larger fans of the IP. So we'll start doing our toys around that, or our features around that. So yeah, this may be an amazing LCD, but if it doesn't serve the purpose of the toy, going back to Brian saying, will we have an LCD in a playfield? If it serves the story and we can expand the story and serve it well, it will be in there.
Yeah, there's something just with, like, for example, with pinball and you're controlling physical object, and that, there's, for example, like, there's some magnets that are being used in one new pinball game that you could actually pulse the magnet and control the movement, or like you can move a ramp around. Do you think there may be a future opportunity for further control of physical objects, either a pinball
100%.
or yeah, that'd be cool.
I want to thank you both so much. David Van S., Brian Savage. Their company is Barrels of Fun Pinball with 2 incredible tables. Guys, you're going to be a fixture, a part of this channel. I don't want this to be a one and done. Tell everybody, about yourselves real quick. Give an ending closing statement.
And you go first.
Well, I kind of told you my story already, so I'm just, crazy enough to keep doing this. And hopefully we'll be able to do it for a long time. But with the support we've been getting from the community, I don't see that's a problem at all. And we really want to thank you guys for having us and taking the time. And we look forward to you coming to Houston and doing something from the factory.
Yeah, 100%. You need to come down, and I know Brian will kill me, but we do factory tours on certain times if we have the opportunity to do that. But you need to see our amazing employees, because every game is touched by them and they love everything they do. And we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the support of people buying our games. And that means the world to our family. And It allows us to grow our company. We're now 30,000 square feet. When we started out, we were only 19,000 square feet. And before that, I was in my living room. And if it wasn't for you all supporting us and getting the word out there, we've made Labyrinth, we've made Dune, we have more coming down. We have a roadmap that's literally out to 2027, 28. And we're only we're at stage one. What you're seeing now is everything pre-launch of Barrels of Fun.
Awesome.
We can't wait for you to see stage 2.
Well, we're definitely going to be here to watch stage 2. David, Brian, thank you again so much. Alan, thank you. Take a bow for setting all of this up.
My pleasure. And I just encourage everyone, check out Barrels of Fun Pinball. Check out their website. Go to an arcade, play their games. You could swing it.
Come to Chicago.
Come to Chicago.
Stop
Come
by
to the
us.
Houston
Jim
Expo
Pinball,
in
buy a
November
Labyrinth.
in Houston.
Support these guys.
I'll be there also. Barrels of Fun. There'll be a link in the description. David and Brian, thank you so much.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you.
Thank you, guys.